So, very good evening to one and all who have already joined. On behalf of IAHP Scientific Committee, I, Dr. Muktinder Singh, welcome you all in this beautiful evening. Today, we are talking about the most burning issue of the given time of the century, that is COVID 19. And the one who is talking with us on this issue today, will throwing light on this issue, is none other than one of the authority, because he is already a renowned and he is a pulmonologist and turned homeopath. So scientifically, as far as allopathy treatment is concerned, and he is a panelist by the government. He has been invited to so many uh, platforms, and he has joined the government also as a uh, consultant for the COVID patient. So, sir, I welcome you. I would like you to show your video also so that all of us can uh, see you also. And he has already shared his screen. So today he'll be talking about clinical management of COVID-19, homeopathy by simple approach and clinical way. Sir, I have received many questions from the audience and the participants and the doctors. So please keep some time for the question answer sessions. Now I would first of all uh, thank our management of IAHP, respected Padam Shri Dr. K. Gupta sir, M. Rao sir, our Secretary General Dr. Ravinder Kocherji, Dr. Srinivas Luluji, and many other. Dr. Tanveer Hussain is there. So all of us has conceived and requested Dr. Jaswant Patil sir to be with us, and I expect a lot of people to join today and listen today this webinar. As during this lockdown, we have conceived this idea of reaching to masses and bringing the quality education to the masses, and that too, IAHP is holding all its webinars and all its events totally free in the era when people are charging for teaching. We are arranging it totally free. So I once again welcome Dr. Jaswant Patil sir. So sir, please, without wasting much time, let us start with the presentation. Dr. Jaswant Patil.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody, friends, and a happy Friendship Day today. Today is a unique day of friendship, and we have to do a friendship amongst all our colleagues, all the colleagues of our other pathy also. So together we can make a difference, and we can win over what is going to be the total scenario of COVID-19 clinical management, and we'll win over the horrible state, the ravages that COVID-19 is causing to our fellow Indians and also the human beings all over the world. So I welcome you all for the clinical management of COVID-19, homeopathy by simple approach and a clinical way.
Sir, can we increase the volume a bit, because your voice is a bit not very crispy.
Now it is okay.
Better. It's better now. It's better now.
It is better. Okay. Thank you so much. Give me. See, I dedicate this lecture to our great master, Dr. Samuel Frederick Hahnemann, founder of homeopathy. But the real tribute to him will be to prove homeopathy a great science in a scientific way. All these days, I'm seeing that people are haunting homeopathy because of lack of clinical research. But I don't agree 100% because I've gone through so many research papers that have been put into homeopathy. If you go on the Google and search, the first thing that I found out was the cytokine effect of arnica and belladonna on cytokines. and this cytokine storm that is killing. So Dr. Hahnemann left 200 years back. That time there was no modern facilities, no investigative approach. So the limited resources of diagnosis, it was all clinically that was dependent, mostly on the symptoms base. And therefore, he could do whatever best at his time. But after sixth edition, there is no addition. That should be not be the thing into homeopathy. That is what I was always thinking. Why there is no addition? Because Dr. Hahnemann left and no one dares to take the science ahead. Today, the whole world is asking us, show us the scientific part of the science. When we all know the effect of homeopathy on the patients that we see in day-to-day life. I'm an allopath first, from a best institute of India. And one upon a time, I was a staunch opponent of homeopathy. I used to get angry with my patients. Why is this not coming? Patients are not coming to me, and when they are coming, they are taking homeopathy. So that was the agitation in me. And when they used to come with the homeopathic medicine, I used to first throw away that medicine, because allopathic science is the strongest science with a strong base, with such a hard training, like a military, that nothing else goes inside the brain of an allopath. And I was one of them. But over a period of time, I learned when my mother was absolutely multi-organ failure and in a death condition, working for 5 years into an ICU, different hospitals, JJ, Jaslo, KEM, Cooper. So many hospitals I worked, and I was not able to save my mother, and she ultimately finally responded to RSIO 200 single dose. And that single dose made such a magical recovery within 24 hours, 48 hours. All the gadgets were out, and she was sitting eating in 72 hours. So that ignited in my mind, and that killed my ego of allopathy. Oh, there is something that is so great in this. Such a tiny pills, not even milligram per kilogram body weight dose is there. Even if you test in the laboratory, no medicine molecule is found. That is, chemical molecule is found. So there are no side effects. Can do such a wonders and can have such a great impact on a human body. And that was the day when I was thinking, in the same month before my mother was sick, I wanted to start angiography in angioplasty center in first of its Khandesh, because I was first to put a pacemaker in the heart, temporary pacemaker heart in the whole of the Khandesh in that area, after going from Mumbai to serve my native place. And now it was a change in my life, the turmoil. Everyone was saying, don't play, your practice is so good in allopathy, is roaring. You are the only doctor of allopathy who is doing all these procedures, fiber optic bronchoscopy and all this. Please don't. But then I said, I want to work for my patients. I'm a doctor. The mission of doctor is first to treat the patient properly. The rest of the things, this science will help me in this, and started learning, and finally I got into it by taking admission to BHMS college after 17 years of my gap from start of the MBBS. And finally I completed my BHMS and became a legal homeopath, because it was always I had to employ some homeopathy and give homeopathic medicines. In my own ICU, I saw the results. One single dose of arnica, the whole of the hyper state of the ST segment came down to normal. Hyper elevated ST segment came down to, it's an acute myocardial infarction. And the ECG was so normal that I saw, my God, if I don't preserve this ECG, other people will say this doctor has cheated. Such a fast improvement into the hyperacute state of a ST elevated segment in acute myocardial infarction, I had never seen, not even with urokinase and streptokinase that I was using that time for 10,000 and 20,000 rupees, which all people couldn't afford. So that was this. There's multiple times I have seen the effectivity of the homeopathy, and it was so nice that finally I became a homeopath. My indoor started reducing because no number of patients were getting well faster. They didn't require indoor. The whole one patient was getting admitted 3, 4 times in a year. Now he is not requiring admissions. So that whole scenario changed, and that whole scenario caused a big change in my life, and therefore the whole approach towards this changed. Now coming to the point, into the entry into a homeopathy and taking as a homeopath, the indoor stopped, and finally, my ICU was running because there was a case that was there, and I said gradually I stopped my ICU, and one day one patient came with severe cardiac problems, and he was almost dead. He was resuscitated. He was resuscitated at home by the local doctors there, and they brought to my ICU. I said, I have closed down. Now I am a homeopath. The doctor said, don't do this type of things. Please take him. Please take him. And I took him. I brought all my instruments down, did intubation, started giving cardiac massage, gave intracardiac adrenaline, then gave DC shock. Nothing. The line was flat. Then we declared the man is dead. I was thinking, what have I done? It was just a show off of a dead man, so that the relatives get satisfied that some efforts were made. But this was false. It didn't appeal to my mind that I'm not doing the right thing. And again, I looked at God. I always look at God whenever I don't find a way, and He gave me the way. He said, "Go, get up, go ahead, and uh, do something." So I was just thinking, and that time my mind came. It came into my mind. The camphor works. So camphor of 1 ml, 1 dose. We again put it on the tongue and gave one dopamine. Actually, adrenaline is given, but injection dopamine I pumped into the heart, gave DC shock, and the heart started. The ambu bag was on, and patient was started his own breathing, and pulse came, BP came, everything came. So here was a combination of allopathy and homeopathy. See, this combination has proved so fruitful that for that patient that he got his life. And that too, 20 minutes after the cardiac arrest. Now, I called that doctor. I said, see, he is alive. He said, why did you do that? Now he's vegetable, his brain is dead. I said, we have learnt everything in the books, but practical things matters. We should not give up hopes. We should always fight, fight, fight till the time we win. And when we lose, then say, okay, now God did help us. But we should fight till our last breath, that we must do something for the patients. This particular patient, next day, to my surprise, means I transferred him because I said ventilator will be required. The next day, he was fully awake, no brain dead, no neurological signs. It was a shock to me to see that. I'm sharing that because I've always read, always imbibed, always been taught that 4 minutes brain is dead. I do not know how it happened. And today, that man survived for 12 years. Later on, he died of some other reasons. I don't know. But 12 years, I was getting a message that yes, he is alive. So, combination at that juncture of time, allopathy with homeopathy, saved one life. And the same combination today, allopathy with homeopathy, into an ICU and all these things, can save many lives. And that's the reason I'm here today to express my feelings, express my experiences, to share that so that our all colleagues from all paths, it is a friendship day, and we should all get together and we should be unitedly standing and fighting for this ravaging COVID-19 disease. I welcome you all, and I respect all sciences as they are my weapons to fight against the disease. And all sciences have scopes and limitations, and each part of the science which has got a limitations you have to overwrite that limitations and take over to save the patients. I respect all doctors and medical practitioners, and we can discuss the shortfalls, but never to criticize each other because everyone is working for the patients with a good intentions and unity with broad-minded approach by integrating all the sciences to arrive at a concrete synergistic solutions to fight this deadly pandemic is the deed of today. United we stand and divided we fall. And this is how should be our approach. Primarily, I practice homeopathy as a first line treatment. Now I'm more of an homeopath than as an allopath. And beyond the scope of homeopathy, in severe cases and incurables, I take help of allopathy and other alternative sciences, which are mentioned by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann in the footnotes. I thank IHP, Dr. Dahad, Dr. Muktender Singh to invite me to give the talk today. I thank my respected Dr. T.P. Lane and Dr. Kohli from Maharashtra COVID Task Force, who has supported homeopathy and all Ayurveda and all Ayush lines to give a proper and good solution to the patients who are suffering from COVID disease. I thank Dr. Anil Khurana, Dr. VK, Dr. VS Gupta sir, and to support me, the CCRH, Dr. Naveen Pavaskar, and all CCRH team has always helped me. I thank Dr. Jawar Shah to form a Mumbai COVID team to help me select the good members, where Dr. Nimesh, Dr. Devadiga, Dr. Rajesh Barve, Dr. Rajesh Shah, and our Corona warriors who worked on the patients, Dr. Shailendra, Dr. Sunil Lambe, Dr. Isha Ved, Dr. Kirti Mutrija, and Sonali Chapia. From all other groups, Dr. Liaquat Ali, Dr. Makarand from Inlac Hospital, and Dr. Ranade, Dr. Sadhna Gaikar, who is again going to work as a very good proposals that we are getting. I thank all homeopaths and homeopathic groups who shared their cases. I shared my cases, they shared their cases, and we got into insight. I thank all my Ayush members for giving me insight of integrated approach. I thank all homeopathic organizations, NGOs who gave me the opportunity, and ultimately, finally, I thank all homeopaths, allopaths, my colleagues, and I appreciate your remarks. Together, we can win over COVID-19. To start with, I'll start with a case. I'll start with a case. This is a one message that I got on WhatsApp. I have taken whatever good parts I take and I show it. That RT-PCR, I'm going to take a live case now. The RT-PCR and IgG, if it is positive and IgG is negative, the infected patient is there and he is a risk to everyone around him. These needs to be quarantined, separated, and treated properly so that others will not. But now we are gone to a community transmission. Now everything is open, the lockdown is over, mostly it is over, but still in the containment zones, we are having still people are coming out and they are getting infected. So when the RT-PCR and IgG are negative, then he is a risky patient, risky for himself, not for others. And this particular risk patient I'm going to talk of today. And those with RT-PCR negative and IgG positive, they are possibly immunized. So we take a very serious case that of COVID-19, and the patient was suffering, started with fever and symptoms of viral infections, and that particular symptoms they were before, that is before the 26th when I took over the case, it was 6, 7 or 8 days more than that. He was suffering from cold, cough, fever, these all COVID symptoms, but nobody realized he was just treated symptomatically. Finally, when he deteriorated, he was a case with cardiomyopathy, bypass surgery done, hypertension, uncontrolled diabetes, all bad comorbidities were there. Still, he was moving about with severe weakness from one doctor to another doctor and found that finally he has deteriorated with oxygen fallen to 60, 70. And then he was admitted in one hospital where thought because of his heart conditions,
He
his
continue.
oxygen fall is there. From there, he was transferred again back to COVID hospital because they suspected this is not heart, this is COVID. Then the COVID test was done and that came negative. When that came negative, he was again retransferred to another hospital, non-COVID hospital. There they said, now the time is over. He is not going to survive. For the sake of this, we are taking this. The relatives decided what to do now because he will be isolated and they are not taking any guarantee. The oxygen was dropping to 40. If the oxygen is off with 16 liters of to 18 liters of oxygen, he was maintaining up to 70, 75. So I got a call. I said, you start with Ferrum Phos 30 and Carbovich. These are when you don't have anything, I start with that. And by the time he came with, they brought him home. I said, you first arrange for the oxygen cylinders. We had an agreement. Yes, anyway, everything is given up hopes. Let us try the last fight till the last breath of the patient so that we get into the conditions more better. And you see, the readings were 60 to 70. Huh? And this is with oxygen and without oxygen. He was 75, 72. Then he was 87, 92, 92, 90. He improved in 1 day's time, in 24 hours. And 27 June, 28 June, he was much more better than what he was brought earlier because without oxygen, it would have been dropped to less, 75. Now it is 82. So you can see without oxygen, he was maintaining up to 89. And with oxygen, just even the liters were down. And now with 2 liters, he was maintaining at 93 and 94. See this particularly till the time we made an oxygen arrangement. You see his oxygen was 76. And as soon as we got an oxygen, the oxygen was started. This was a date of 26. See, this is his COVID pneumonia. You see, particularly this case, periphery is involved. If you see periphery, this is very typical. And what is happening is a alveolitis. That is into the alveoli are more into the periphery. So you see alveolitis that is happening. And it is the upper lobes are little bit involved, but lower are drastically involved. You can see this. You can see all these changes that are causing here. And then we started a treatment, and then we see that what is the change in him. He became on 28 June 93 and 98 on 29 June. 28 it was 93, 29. So fast improvement. That too, what was the diluted Carbovage that I had given him? I said, okay, instead of that, give Carbovage 30 pills every 1 hour. 3 pills every 1 hour because sometimes the diluted medicines will not work. And then I found out that because of his persistent high pulse rate and falling heart conditions, Kalicarb 30 was prescribed to him on the basis he could sit, bend forward, he was comfortable. And you see, all these patients, if you see why, I'll show you in a prone position, why they are better. This is a base. So when they lie prone, the congestion goes down, the lungs can expand properly. One of my allopathic pulmonologist colleague who I always exchange and I ask them what is happening, give me clinical feedback, give me clinical feedback. And he said, just one, it is just like the interstitial fibrosis that happens over 10 years, 20 years. It is happening in 10 days. And the lungs have become stiff. They can't expand. There is no airway, no air coming in. And therefore, there is a big problem. And in that, if you have an heart failure, so the person goes more worse. So you can see with that, his oxygen finally improved to 97. And this is an X-ray after taken on the 10 to 12 days back after this, and you can see the clearing of all. Every time we cannot do CT scan because it is a high radiation, and only in the base you can see some. Even though the report is written there that both lung fields are clear, but as a pulmonologist, I know this is not clear. Many times this happens. The radiological reporting is something different, but actually you can see the shadows here in the left base. And you can see this heart, it is a boot-shaped heart. And boot-shaped heart shows that this is the left ventricular hypertrophy. And that causes the failure part into this. So once he got well, then finally we took his, this, you can see what he's saying. Now his oxygen has improved and he's taking out oxygen. He is giving thanks to me and homeopathy. Now he can sleep, he can eat, he's looking fresh. He's into Marathi, so I'm translating, and because of time, I'm just cutting short. Now he says a very good relief and good changes have happened. Now he says tingling is remaining, so it shows that circulation is still weak. And now he's walking, and you can see his whole family was quarantined. Everyone was kept inside the house. You can see the oxygen cylinders on the backside. We always kept 2 oxygen cylinders in the spare, so that we should plan before treating like this. It is a risk that I had taken. This person had a extreme faith in me, and therefore I could treat. So such type of case, who was almost on the verge, hospitals were denying, and finally he was going to die, and he improved. And that is how you see the homeopathy makes a difference. And when again this treatment will be attached with uh, allopathy, you can see even after this, it is 94. So he is on the verge of improving. Now, second CT scan, which is not put in here, is showing that 1 hour is over without oxygen and is maintaining. Even then, it is 94, and still we need to take care because in CT scan, it is showing still more problems. So now, after that, it is oxygen 99 and 97, and oxygen for 2 hours 97, and without it is 99. After that, then we have stopped his oxygen. You can see the changes before and after. No, sorry, this is another case. So this is a case which has shown us the effect and the power of homeopathy that has brought him out. Now we take a second case, which is COVID with oxygen between 90 and 92. So there are 4 stages: 90 to 98, 80 to 90, and 80 to 70, and 70 to 60, and below 60. So all these categories now we are planning to do whatever best we can do, that I'm going to plan it so that we can come out with more concrete solutions even into the bad cases, taking help of this case. And this was a case with 1992. You can see the changes here and see the clearance of the shadows here. So oxygen had dropped till to 90. Many cases, if they are left alone, even then they can get well. But this lady was 74-year-old, and she needed a proper management. Oxygen at home, she was managed, and now she is totally fine. She was given Bryonia 200 repeatedly to every 2 hours, Carbovage 30 diluted in water, 100 ml water, and given 10 strokes every time we deliver, and 1 hourly on the first day, 2 hourly on second day, and 3 to 4 hourly on third day. So you can see there is a great change in him, change in her. The left lung lower zone opacity, and now there is no abnormality seen. Even we have seen the X-ray plates, and they are showing the clearance. This is another case treated only by Ferrum Phos. You know, Dr. Makarand, who is a young homeopath, dynamic homeopath, and he's working in Inlex Hospital. Dr. Santosh Ranade is helping him for all the feedbacks and outside help. And he has treated more than 30 cases that time. Now, so he called me yesterday, sir, I've finished 60 cases only on Ferrum Phos. And you can see this particular, this is a pre, you can see the damages that is caused. You can see the lung involvement, terrific lung involvement. And into this, you can see after the improvement of the just Ferrum Phos. So Ferrum Phos is a remedy that is emerging out where you don't have any history. There is at remote. We don't want to go into the individualization. We don't have a time. The general practitioners who are not well versed with individualization and giving the similimum, they only if they use Ferrum Phos 30 and Carbovesh 30, I think the results would be marvelous. Means these cases are showing the same case done by him, another case which we are showing. You can see, even though they are of the mild to moderate, they have been showing the clearance. You can see up to just Ferrum Phos, no other treatments were given. They were into the OPD basis. They were keeping there were a problem of bed, hospitals not having bed outside when they used to come. Just take Ferrum Phos 1 hourly, 1 hourly, 1 hourly, and patient used to improve. And they say, now I'm feeling better. I go home. He used to say, if you can arrange oxygen cylinder, arrange till the time you get admission into the hospital bed. You can continue this, and moment you get admitted. But most of the time, they have found that patients are getting well on their own. These cases uh, have reduced the load on the existing administration of the government, which is trying hard. It is beyond government's reach to do such huge number of cases, and the healthcare facilities fall short. Just we cannot shout against government and officers and the managers. They are doing their best, but there is a limitations. They cannot. There is a limitations they cannot cross, and we all together have to help government and people, even by keeping the oxygen cylinders in the society. 90, just above 90 cases of the oxygen we can manage even in the societies, and with the help of a local homeopath and allopath general practitioner, all of them together can drastically reduce the load of all the patients of COVID. And you will see the scenario of the whole COVIDology will change. What problems we are facing, that will change. Now, coming to the points, I have shown you mild case, moderate case, and a very severe case. So when we come to homeopathy, what is our mission of the physician is to cure the sick. That what Dr. Hahnemann has finally said. But in today's scenario, to cure is very difficult. But at least what he has said, a rapid, gentle, permanent restoration to the health. Because moment you get mentally disturbed, mind is a sole generator of disturbed mind and disturbed emotion, sole generator of all diseases. And therefore, the mind needs to be treated. One, in the classical homeopathy, when mind is given more importance, because ultimately, finally, all other things that are partially similar remedies, acute remedies, they can bring down the malady of the patient. But to final cure, mind needs to be treated. And that is where first we should tide over the crisis and then go. What time, what needs to be done? चाय के टाइम चाय पीना चाहिए, खाने के टाइम खाना खाना चाहिए, सोने के टाइम सोना चाहिए. So time has to be followed. If you follow the time properly, when you have to do homeopathy, when you don't have to do homeopathy, when you have to do combined homeopathy and allopathy, all these things requires the logic, rational, and proper thinking by a physician. There are so many methods in homeopathy. Some one method, different ways of treating a patient. We cannot criticize. This method is wrong. That method is wrong. He is wrong. He's so many times I have seen that whatever homeopaths are treating, they are getting results with Bryony also, Antibdat also. There are some symptoms that match, some symptoms, all the remedies that are concentrated to treat pneumonia, they have something in common, and that helps the patient. The more similimum, the more faster are the results. The less similimum, you may get results after 2 days, 3 days, but there the rapid part misses. Rapid means you see the serious case, 24 hours is settling down. That is called as rapid. Gentle, there was no aggravation. and patient was much more comfortable. Permanent still to come because he has got many things to be treated. The Kalikarv has taken care of his heart, but have you treated his whole? Because still tingling numbness is remaining. So I'm working on the case so that with the mind and everything, I tide over the crisis. We can restore finally the health to the health. And this is the way. Instead of criticizing this system is wrong, that system is wrong, it is better that we follow the normal norms that is been laid by Dr. Hahnemann. The pathophysiology of lung in COVID-19, the lung involvement is the main problem that is leading to death. And in my practice, and as well as experience from other homeopaths, Bryonia 200, Antimtat 200, and Carbovage 30, they are working wonders. Second thing, we are finding that the heme protein of the RBCs is ripped off by the virus. There is a definite mechanism which has been given in detail. I can't discuss here. And therefore, the ferritin is released. So the oxygen carrying capacity of the RBCs, they reduce. First of all, here in the lungs and here again, and that too ACE2 inhibitors in the brainstem has been blocked. The signals of breathlessness doesn't come. And that is the reason we call that as a happy hypoxia. Next to this problem is the heart, the viral myocarditis that goes on, and with the failure and thromboembolic episodes that lead to sudden deaths or the brain stroke. Now patients are just going with singular, the brain stroke, paralysis, patient goes into normal hospital, they find, take him for surgery, do the COVID test and find, oh, he's COVID positive. But there was no fever, there was nothing. Sometimes people miss 99 and 100 fever. There are people whose body is already hot. They can't sense because in lung, I'll talk to in fever in detail that this particular things that is happening. So brainstem affections, the way through the vagal afferent nerves from the receptors to the lung communicate to the medulla and pons for the respiratory control to coordinate inspiration and expiration, and therefore, in such cases, wherever the vagus nerve is involved at the primary level, Antimtat, IPCAC, they are working very well. And when the respiratory failure goes in, that time Aspidospirma 30 to stimulate patient going into respiratory fatigue may require ventilator. The most of the patients are now maintained only on NIV, that is non-invasive ventilation. And at the end, the secondary infection starts, the D dimer starts to rise. Look, remember, D dimer test is very important because moment D dimer starts rising, you can expect a thromboembolic episode and sudden death. So here arnica works wonders, and arnica is again has been demonstrated in one of the clinical studies. You can go and search that belladonna and arnica are working on cytokine storms. And at the end, you get a DIC, a picture where there is final death. Very difficult for anyone to come out of the DIC. The Crotalagus auratus, acetic acid, and arundo. These are the remedies. Honestly speaking, I have not worked on this type of cases. But as an intensivist, as a pulmonologist, what cases I have seen in allopathy, the acetic acid is exactly the Medrol of allopathy. The base is same for the preparation of the medicine. Here it is a dynamic medicine. Medrol is a material medicine. So when I searched how acetic acid was prepared and Medrol, and then finally, oh my God, these are the same thing. And they have got the same characteristics. Basically, you have to correlate your allopathic base knowledge, and homeopathy is exactly because based on allopathic base. Because Dr. Hahnemann was himself an allopath. He has worked out all the terminology. When I show to my allopathic colleagues, Are, allopathy mein jo terminology, same to terminology is there, except for rubrics and symptoms. Now, what are symptoms? Symptoms is a change in the pathophysiology of the body at particular level. So what are the changes? There are minute test changes. There are so many cytokines, so many proteins. So what changes are happening give rise to a group of symptoms. And that has been proved into human proving of the homeopathic drugs. So the group of symptoms is in a sense diagnostic part of an allopathy. So particular those changes will give rise to this symptom. These changes will give rise to these symptoms. Now, these changes are hidden. We have not searched them. We have not researched them. And that those needs to be researched. Improving, if we start doing checking the physiological changes at different potencies from Q to 1 cm, we'll come to know what are the physiological changes that exactly happens when pathology sets in. And when that will happen, that day I tell you, homeopathy will be accepted worldwide and it will be a main line of treatment. Even allopaths will accept. Second thing, I exchanged ideas, clinical ideas with my colleagues who are working in ICU, pulmonologists. They say, just one that is, there are arrhythmias, mostly atrial fibrillation or lastly ventricular tachycardias. And digitalis is very good to calm down the nerves of the heart so that the if given properly Kalicar and digitalis in the setup of the serious scenario where we do not have much of the history to know whether digitalis is simillimum or Kalicar in a diluted dosage of the water, they are not going to have a bad effect or bad aggravation, and patient is going to respond to the existing conventional line of allopathic treatment. Then we come to what is there in homeopathy that I learned is knowledge of the disease and what is curative in the medicine is most important in any homeopathic prescription. The bilateral involvement of lungs with ground glass opacity is a typical of COVID-19. And which side of involvement starts, left, right, which lobe? There are definite group of remedies given in the repertories. Upper lobe, middle lobe, lower lobe, right, left. And when we have to select one remedy out of 10, 15 groups that is emerging in repertorization, here the clinical knowledge helps me. Even you can take help of, oh, this is this part of the lung, this lobe. So out of this, it is like one lock and 15 keys. Which one you will pick up fast and appropriate? Because time is not there. You cannot try all the remedies one by one. So you get the best clues in a clinical scenario. What is the sphere of action of that remedy? Select that remedy, and I have seen the fantastic results without going much more depth into long case taking into these acute cases. The mentals are definitely prominent and should be given more importance to prevent cytokine storm. Because usually the name COVID is like a lion in front of you. So you get afraid. Suddenly I've seen those who are timid or easily frightened, fear of death. Aconite calms them down immediately. The fear of death you remove, cytokine storm happening will be reduced. Once the cytokine storm comes, it is really very difficult. The IL-6 becomes 16,000, 1600, 2000. It goes to any number. Means you cannot imagine with IL-6, just 16 in one of a doctor patient of mine. I've seen that he was suffering so much. With 1600, what will happen? God knows. And therefore, we must be very important in giving importance to the mentals. And mentals, if we pick up what is a change, you know, the best way of mental picking up what I had seen by Dr. Seigel's way in one of the cases that was described, and that video also became viral. The hyoscyamus was used based on the symptoms, mental symptoms that patient speaks. And from there, you can draw the inference, and it is definitely working. So there are different ways by which you can arrive at a simillimum. All ways are good. All doctors, all stalwarts in homeopathy, they are doing the best. Everybody's ways are different, but finally they reach Mumbai. That is should be our goal. So you have to reach to your own town. You come by this way, you come by this way, you come by that way, you come by that way. And finally, the cure should happen by the Hering's law of cure. There I have seen wherever the Hering's law of cure principles come up, discharges out, and the reverse order of appearance. I've seen them going into permanent cure. Till that time, they are not permanently cured, but they are maintained. So even then, you can see that. Then symptoms of importance. There is a fever, hypoxia, cytokine storm are the most important. These three symptoms needs to be discussed in detail. And important parameters to watch is CRP, IL-6, neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, PCT, procalcitonin, pro-BNP, urea creatinine, HGO-TPT, and X-ray chest. Now, the NLR ratio, if it is more than 3.3, 3.4, it's a time that you should think, oh, now I have to be careful. This patient may turn into a serious case anytime. The IL-6 and CRP, you have to always check. IL-6 is a little costly test. So where it is not affordable, at least CRP should be done. Pro-BNP will tell you the failure part of the heart. The failure part of the heart, if you come to know, when you do not do the, cannot do now, this, 2D echo, or you cannot do an ECG, pro-BNP just by taking a blood and sending it. And if you get a result, you know that he is into a failure part of the heart. There are Kalicarb and all the heart failure remedies, they work when other symptoms they match. X-ray chest is always to see what is happening finally. So now we come to fever. One of the doctor shared this chart with me, and Dr. Abhay Cheda, I thank him for giving me this chart. And he's sent me through WhatsApp the fever, benefits of fever. Allow the fever and gets lots of benefit. Fever is produced in the body in response to any infection to help body overcome infection. To overcome any viral infection, body needs to produce 102 plus fever. Say no to fever reducing drugs per se. But above certain level of fever, there we have to interfere because that is called as hyperpyrexia. Hyperpyrexia is to be treated with antipyretics, not the pyrexia. Understand the difference between pyrexia and hyperpyrexia. Because when pyrexia comes, it is our natural protective mechanism. Because fever increases the white blood cell counts. Fever flex the cancer cells with heat shock proteins. Here in virus, it flex the viruses and fungi, whatever is the secondary bacteria, so that they cannot grow. Moment the temperature rises, the multiplication of bacteria and viruses go down, and our phagocytes and our immune system kills them. And this is how the infection is controlled. And therefore, many a times I've seen in a COVID case, patient says, "Sir, अभी 101 हुआ, ठीक है, wait करो, तुम तब तक whatever the symptom remedies coming, just give that." Patient says, "अभी सर 104 हो गया, 108 हो गया," मैंने कहा, "Don't worry." You have to keep them talking to them so they are not frightened. बहुत सारे लोगों में ये हो गया है कि बुखार ब्रेन में चढ़ जाए तो आदमी मर जाता है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. That happens only in hyperpyrexia and where the brain are weak. So you have to identify such cases. Everyone just rise of fever, the fever will not reach brain. Blood-brain barrier is one of the important thing that manages everything. So we should not be afraid and give assurance to your patients that fever is for the good. It stimulates the bone marrow to produce white cells. You see lymphopenia is happening in viral infection. So it helps the bone marrow to produce more and more of the white blood cells. And therefore, fever is important. And if you see up to is anyone asking me a question? Okay.
No, sir.
Fever
No,
up
sir.
to
It
100.
might be due to some network problem. You please continue.
Okay, no problem. So fever up to 104 is safe in a healthy individual, not in those who are sensitive to it and with brain problems. You need to be careful in those cases. But still, I've seen, and what is my way of handling whenever the fever comes? Fever relatives will trouble you more. So be ready to get troubled, just not to get rid of that trouble. Okay, give crocin and let the fever go down. You will be doing harm to the patient. I say, okay, you give this remedy and get measure every 15 minutes. And if your remedy is right, I have seen point 1 to point 2 definitely falls down. And no electronic thermometers, they are wrong. In high and low fevers, in high, so they are 100% wrong. So mercury thermometer should be the base. Never allow for the electronic thermometers because their quality is not to that standard. And these electronic guns are more problematic. Therefore, all COVID patients came inside the airport. They were checking. Everyone knows you just take paracetamol and fever will go away. And therefore, the AM temperature, PM temperature, see, the morning it is 98 and evening is 9. Many patients after recovering, they say, Sir, 99, 100 fever hai, sham ko. Corona requires a little heat in the body, and therefore you see in I think Israel or they had said that garam garam soup piyo, garam pani piyo, garam bath lo. Why? Because that increases the heat, temperature of the body, and for to remain away from the COVID problems, high temperature is required by the body. So you may not worry for 99.9 fever. Let it be there in the evening. If it is there, it will gradually resolve. The fever above 106 is called as hyperpyrexia. But for practical purposes, I say up to 104. So I kept a limit. But still above 102.4, you have to be on the toes. You cannot leave the patient. Tepid sponging and all those. If the fever is causing a problem, you have to take a judgment and not leave the patient to the mercy of fever. So wherever it is required, then there I say, okay, all right. But 24 hours, fever remains stuck at one point, 102.4, 101.8, and it doesn't rise, then I'm safe. Now stop measuring. I think fever will not rise and it will come down. This is a practical hint that I'm giving that I've always seen because I'm always on my toes when I'm treating. I'm always on my WhatsApp with messages. Rather than talking to the people, they know doctor is connected to me, they are assured. Fever is a science of presence of infection, and therefore one should always take fever as a measure. Oh, still the viruses are there. The later on stages, the fever becomes inflammatory or secondary infection bacterial. That time again the fever starts rising. And therefore, whenever there are pyrogens, it is with chills, and there are no pyrogens, it is without chill. So without chill, fever is most of the time it is inflammatory fever. So you see the body temperatures. This is a mild fever, 100 to 102. But do anyone will not agree? 102. How, doctor? It is mild. It is given in the books. I have taken this from the medical books, and you can see what is being said. And therefore, we should assure the patient, keep a watch on rather than bringing down the temperature down, because fever pathway is because of infection, like coronavirus infection. The Kupffer cells and circulating lymphocytes, they release cytokines into circulation, IL-1, IL-6, IL-10, TNF-alpha, to stimulate the hypothalamus. And then the behavioral and autonomic response to increase the body temperature. And this is what is required to enhance the host defenses by increasing the white blood cells and lymphocyte proliferation. So more you bring down the fever, more the lymphocytes will go down and more your NLR ratio will be disturbed. So don't be in a hurry. Treat only if there is a danger of the fever to the patient, because many a times it is seen that fever is required and we should not be afraid. The cytokine storm is the last one that we are facing and everybody is afraid. Today in allopathy, tocilizumab is really working on cytokine storm, but where it stops working, it is a dead end of the road. And there, in such cases, where I think if proper homeopathy is been researched and given, definitely it will cause uh, a good change. And cytokine release syndrome, that is CRS, that leads to cytokine storm, it gets triggered by fear, by drugs, and by infection. So secondary infections, when they occur, all the cytokine storm comes. Fear, I told you, we can work on with Aconite. Drugs, many times, the allopathic drugs, which has got side effects, they cause a problem. And there, our Nux vomica will work. And in infections, I've seen Heparsur, Chilidonium, Bryonia, and Merxol. They are working well. In one of the group of patients that are treated by one of our doctor of the COVID team, Dr. Shailendra Vaishyapan, he got best results with Merxol 30 in a flushed method. Half one bottle Merxol, you half, again put water, again shake it, take half frequently, 2 hourly, 3 hourly, 1 hourly, as per this. and the results are seen. So much diluted form cannot cause aggravation. That is what is his observation, and I endorse it because I too have done the same thing into my patients. And then when we were exchanging, he said, "Sir, मुझे भी इससे फर्क पड़ रहा है." मैंने कहा, "Very good, nice." So he has gathered now 60 cases and he'll come up with the study. I thank him and I pat him for doing the best job of showing to the world that yes, homeopathy is working. There in the COVID hospital, people, they are after him. Doctor, please come and give your medicines. People are getting saved here. So this is a message that we need to put forth to the world. Yes, there is thing. If you just look into just, we know that our deficiency is a scientific background by which we are not proved till today. But this is not a stage to test. You test, anyway, they are harmless medicine. Either they will work or not work. Try once, and if you find they are useless, just throw it away. But once do a trial with a fair people who are knowing how to handle the emergency cases, pathophysiology changes, selecting rubrics with the help of symptoms. So sudden onset, fast pulse, falling oxygen, falling BP, confusion, delirium, loss of coordination are the symptoms. Sudden onset, belladonna works. And all remedies that are coming in sudden onset, sudden complaints. You take up that rubric and see pathophysiology where it is matching and give, I think we will get the best results. The signs that are low PO2, widened pulse pressure, rise of urea creatinine, and elevated D dimers indicates thrombo. These needs to be taken care of and kept watch on while treating. Now, I have taken some rubrics. I think we have to take up a lot of questions also, so I'm going a little bit fast. And I hope you'll understand at the end. If you have any doubts, I will answer your questions. But if you see the symptoms mostly observed, there are many rubrics that are available. And influenza, just when searched with nausea, antimatter, typica, urination copious. People say कि सर बहुत पेशाब लग रही है, बुखार आ रहा है, बहुत पेशाब लग रही है. These are one of the symptoms of COVID. There you can immediately give gels. बहुत weakness लग रहा है, ऐसा लगता पाँव में ताकत नहीं है. Gelsemium is working, pyrogen is working. Influenza, सर मेरे आंखें बहुत भारी हो गई है, हाथ लगाओ तो दर्द होती है. Bryonia, per Gelsemium. I think most of the homeopaths by now have become corona expert. Earlier it was a time when only few had an opportunity to treat. We were treating right from March, and therefore we know that all these medicines were working. For Rustox is the best anti-inflammatory for fever, and above Rustox, whenever the symptoms are hectic, long-standing fever, not responding to anything, and we get bored now how this fever will go, Apis 30 makes the wonder. And almost, if you see, there is much thirst for the cold water. The phosphorus elements is seen. And then ferrum phos, you can give phosphorus when the patient is in a good vital force, not in a bad vital force. And it clears up the case in wherever the responses are lingering at the end. हाथी गया पूछ अटक गई, वहां पे phosphorus constitution है, phosphorus best works on that. And must cover up all the stages. That means so chilly, Heparsur, Nux, and Rustox, dry coryza, we see dry coryza, stuffy nose, Kali beach, Bryonia, belladonna. You see all these things what are coming is we are endorsing now. Yes, they are working in COVID-19 cases when they presented at the start. The symptoms that are mostly observed: aching in the bone, restlessness, fear of death, fear of being poisoned, hyoscyamus, stramonium. This person of the case that I earlier what I described in a serious case, I had given him stramonium as a start. I forgot to tell you that stramonium was given only because of his mental state that he showed after 4 or 5 days कि रात को इनको डर लगता है और लाइट भी बंद बिल्कुल नहीं चलता है. He wants a lighted room. And then I took the symptoms. Even if you take some COVID symptoms, particular symptoms, hyoscyamus is emerging out, stramonium is emerging out. And one of the case that I said by Segal method, one doctor who was treated, MD doctor, and he got well. He got well with hyoscyamus. That is what I got to know from the colleagues, that he has treated nicely. And I really thank for giving the intelligent prescription and showing what homeopathy's power is. And you see, a sore throat, Many times in the initial stages, sore throat, I was thinking Merxol is coming. How this Merxol is coming? How this Merxol is coming? How can I give this deep remedy? Other things are not matching. Then I said, come on now, give and see what is there. Either it will work or not work, you change the remedy. The best part of homeopathy, it doesn't apply. It will not cause any symptoms, any bad thing. Only it will give no results. I gave Merxol 30 and saw fantastic relief. In 20 minutes, he called, ऐसा लगता है मेरा गला पूरा खुल गया. So that fast relief, rapid relief shows that Merxol, then I had an faith in Merxol, but I was not trying because it is a deep acting remedy, polycrest. Fear of phosphorus, fear of Merxol, fear of causticum. That fear sometimes limits us from using the good remedies and we may miss the bus. And therefore, the head remedies that are coming is arsenical, bupropion, perf, Merxol, ferrum phos, bryony, antimtat, and carbovage. This is a box that can be given in a kit so that patient can be saved at every nook and corner of this world. And only one requires the specific 3344 symptoms of each remedy selection. And even people at home can start doing that because every time to get a doctor is difficult. But my advice is always to meet a doctor, homeopath, because you will get the exact proper medications. And these are just the supporting remedies for your ailments, that acute pathological state you are suffering in. So the best is individualization where it is possible, where it is not possible. And we have to save the life because time is less. We cannot move here and there. Patient needs to be treated. One of the doctor, I inaugurated his website yesterday. He has started giving homeopathic kit with oxygen, pulse oximeter, thermometer, and mask and everything. And this is caused more and more better results and more better management and more less flooding of the hospitals. If the government and all authorities take over this advice, we can see the drastic change into the problems that we are facing today. Then constitutional remedies, all these four they come, and the nosodes that are doing the best job, tuberculinum, this, and if you see the pyrogenium, these are the things that I have seen that works better in pyrogenium. Influenzinum, you can see the diarrhea part, influenzinum. See rectum diarrhea, influenza. Now, what is influenza and what is COVID? Homeopathy never treats viruses, bacteria. It never treats a disease, but it treats the root cause of the disease. And therefore, what works on influenza will also work. And we are seeing arsenic is working. This we cannot say that arsenic is working 100%. Now people say, "हमने arsenic लिया नहीं हुआ." There are so many antidoting factors that is happening. Arsenic needs to be repeated whenever you are exposed, because there are some limitations to the administration. There are antidotes that people are taking, eating, so that they take over the action of arsenic, and then you blame, oh, arsenic is not working. But to my practice, to my personal experience, arsenic is doing the wonderful job. And thanks CCRH for giving those guidelines in the start, that arsenic is working, with the fear that of criticism. Why we should be afraid of criticism? Only thing, because we are not proved in the frame of science, but at the evidence level, we should be confident of what we practice and what we preach, and never bother about criticism, because criticism is always going to be there. Even homeopathy in the initial stages face criticism. Anything good that comes initial is a criticism.
कनेक्शन शो करी जा रहा है
And general convalescence ailment during influenza works better. Tuberculinum is the best whenever you are stuck up, all remedies are not working, particularly lung pneumonia. You see the chest, lung pneumonia, influenza, after only one remedy, that is tuberculinum. The lung inflammation, only one remedy, that is tuberculinum. And extremities pain, tuberculinum. Influenza, weakness, tuberculinum. You see the perspiration part that comes, mostly it is into the Merxor or tuberculinum. And therefore you get very clues. Patient gives you clues कि sir मुझे ये remedy दो, मैं यहाँ अटका हूँ. And when you see into the sorinum, the weakness, perspiration profuse, and debility, that comes into the latest part when the convalescence will start. But in initial part, wherever we are facing the problems of COVID pneumonia, tuberculinum is the best choice. The vagus nerve, if you see how the inflammatory reflex of vagus nerve inhibit the cytokine release and thereby prevent tissue injury and death. Therefore, we need to give the drugs, select the drugs that are working on vagus nerve. So we need to know the materia medica and we need to know the physiological, pathological actions. Digitalis is one of the wonderful remedy. Aconite I discussed, and antim tart and lungs, IPCAT. So acetic acid, that I said, is a medrol, methylprednisolone of homeopathy, and that you see all the symptoms that I've listed here. You see everything fits into the COVID grand morbidity, mortality just before the mortality emerges from all the orifices and bowels with a complete picture of DIC. But I have not used, so I cannot vouch and say. But it needs to be tested. Someone will use and give me a feedback. I hope. These are the investigations, these are exhaustive investigations that are required. The radiological investigations. Minimum these investigations must be done XRHS, CBC, LDS, CRP. IL-6 is a little costly, so it is different. So if you see particularly this, when the age is greater than 49, the NLR should not be more than 3.3. And when the age is this, it should not be 3.3. So therefore, you can see the mean time where the infection and particularly into these ages and why they respond differently will come to know. Coming to the last point, that is research in homeopathy, the TLR genes that recently has been found in two brothers with severe COVID infection. And the research was done. I forgot the name of the scientist who has done this. And they said that it is the TLR gene. What is that? It is they are the gene, they protect us by the releasing of the proteins from virus and bacteria. And if you see that they are mostly on the X chromosome. So in males, you have got X and Y. So males have got less immunity, and in female it is XX. So they get double immunity. So you see COVID-19 cases, females are getting less problems than males. So therefore, one has to do a research in homeopathy where our homeopathic drug can modify this TLR gene. And whether it will affect our gene or not is a question mark by homeopathy, raised by many homeopaths. But I can vouch and say, because I was a daredevil and working, I never used to deny any case in homeopathy. Let us try, let us treat. There are no ways. Find out something. Work. Necessity is the mother of invention. And one of my allopathic colleague, whose son had hemophilia, and I was treating that case in the initial period when I was not knowing principles of homeopathy. That time I was giving medicine just by a clinical method, and I was getting very good results. So his factor VIII levels were always required. I took a history. I gave millifolium, Merxol, sulfur, many remedies I gave, but there was a better in the health respect, but the state of hemophilia was not changing. And I was under the impression that homeopathy will change the genetic disease also. And I wanted to testify. I was I was after it. So started reading books and taking references and everywhere. Finally, I found out that what mother has suffered during, because it was the first case in the family of hemophilia. So mother's history was important. So I took, and she revealed that in first 3 months she had tuberculosis mild. And I say, oh my God. So give tuberculinum. I gave tuberculinum and never expected that such fast changes will happen. And I think 3 or 4 months later, he fell down. He broke his tooth and bleeding came. They were rushing for factor VIII level. And luckily that day factor VIII level was not there, and they were trying to procure. By that time, the blood stopped. They said, how come this happened? This was a surprise. This is my own practical experience that I'm sharing. And therefore, the things came out. Oh my God, there is how this is stop it. The child didn't require. So we went to Afkin to get a factor VIII level done. They denied. Once the low, it will never. Why waste money in that and reagent in that? So we went to a private endocrine laboratory, very well known for this, equivalent to Afkin, and there in Mumbai. So there they said, okay, we will do it. And the factor rate level came normal. And clinically also, it was a collaboration. That they had great faith again into homeopathy. My God, the genetic illness can also be cured by homeopathy if they are properly planned and properly treated. So these nosodes have that strength. And in my experience and whatever I have seen, that after nosodes, we must check CBC, IgM, IgG to see a change. And if we can show that on particular toll-like receptors, that is TLR, we can win over this corona crisis. So the research in homeopathy is required, and research in homeopathy is by knowing the physiological changes while proving the drug. Disease double-blind trial after proper selection of individuality of the group of people. Now, if we try to prove one remedy because we use on symptom basis, so the selection of the people for giving one single drug and doing a double-blind trial, first we have to exercise for selection of the same type of personalities, the group of individuals of thyroid who have got same type, mentals will come same. So from mentals, you separate out the group and then do a double-blind trial. I guarantee for that our results will come. Otherwise, we take all the type of personality, our individuality and totality will not match, and then we will not get results in double-blind trial. And they say homeopathy doesn't work. We must know how to prove the homeopathy. And moment we do this proper practical research in this way, one day I think so many people are listening to me and they will transfer these thoughts also to our researchers. And definitely there will be a great change. The physiology and gene expression by the respective protein needs to be tested for all potencies from Q to highest. Then and then only we can know exactly why these peculiar symptoms are coming, why these characteristic symptoms are coming. Proteins are the cause for that. There are thousands and thousands of proteins that are released into our body for even transferring the messages and doing all sorts of things. Then we come to finally the nosodes in the homeopathy vaccine. They nosodes in homeopathy are like vaccine. Dr. Rajesh Shah is doing a fantastic job on this, and I am in touch with him. I am helping out at all levels. There are great difficulties he is facing, even though CCRH is helping him a lot. It was the only projects selected, even the Ayush Mantralaya funded. Even then, after doing getting the proteins from USA, dendrite protein, he is doing a very scientific way. I listened to him. I said, Rajesh, you are doing in a right way, and I love it. This type of research, and whatever you want, I am always there to help you out. Whatever help you want, and I am there with you. And he's proving. He has gone to an African institute, did a survey research in a very scientific way, and finally, he has come with a nosode, and that animal trials and human safety trials it has passed. Now, just he is trying to do it on a human. For human safety, his nearest people who are working with him, they have been given this nosode, and he is hoping that we'll get an encouraging result soon. Moment we'll test the antibodies, and then there will be human trials for the safety, and then after knowing what is this, it will come. But ICMR has put a full stop to it. I don't blame ICMR people because they don't know about homeopathy. They are like me, what I was so many years back when I was an allopath, because it's a new science for them. How can they take risk in the thing, even though we claim homeopathy, everyone claims my science is the best, but it has to be proved in a scientific frame so that other people who do not know about this science, they will start understanding rather than just criticizing them that you are not taking this into a cognizance. This is, we know कि हमारा बच्चा बहुत होशियार है, लेकिन भैया मार्क्स तो मिला के दिखाओ, लोगों को समझने दो. So unless you do the research, how the things are going to work, and that is my main worry. And I think I would take that as a mission in the retirement phase of my life, which has come. I'm already crossed 60, and I should do this. Thank you for the patient hearing, and I wish you all the best, and all homeopaths, my dear and near ones, that we should go and save lives, whatever best we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. Sorry, Dr. Patil sir, and we all are so inspired and so enthusiastic that yes, and your message, final message of involving more into the research and evidence-based study is really a great message to all of us. You have inspired us a lot, and we are definitely more enthusiastic than we were an hour before. So thank you all, and to all homeopath. My short message is that see the Patel is open to all approaches. He's talking of Sehgal approach also. He's talking of um, that
All
classical
methods,
approach. He's talking
classical
of
approach,
therapeutic also. But
yeah,
yes,
dreams
many of
method,
our
doctor,
people,
any
many
people.
of yes, sir, many of our people are so narrow-minded and they cling to their own approach and they miss many things. So this is my message to them that let us be open to everything, and our motive has to be cure the patient, not that my method is better method. So thank you, sir. Now I'm inviting our moderator of the day, Dr. Srinivas Rao. He has been instrumental in bringing up so many things, and he has been working on rare diseases. He's a great academician, and he has been a CCH member, CCRH member, scientific committee member. So I invite Dr. Srinivas Rao, sir, please start your camera so that we can see you, and please do the needful, and you are most welcome for our today's session. Dr. Srinivas Rao. Sir, are you there? Dr. Srinivas Rao. Sir, yes, sir, please. Sir, please start. You are visible. You're not audible, sir.
Your mic is off.
Your mic is off, please. But here from my side, you are unmuted. Yes, you please speak now. Yes, you are you speaking, sir? Please raise your hand if you are speaking and we are not hearing you. Can you hear me? Yes. Are you speaking? Maybe. Uh,
Hello,
yes. Please,
Muktinder sir.
please, yeah, you will be, yes, what you are saying?
Can we start with question answer session?
Just hold on, just hold on.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, you are audible now. Dr. Srinivas Rao, you are audible now. So please start.
Not audible.
Sir, please. Srinivas Rao. Sir, please try now talking something.
Microphone is a problem.
Sir, can you talk without microphone directly to the laptop, or you can log in through some mobile device? Without microphone, you try without microphone.
His sign is showing muted.
I don't know what is wrong. I'll try to fix it. There are a few questions, Dr. Patel sir.
Yeah,
You can take a question. I'll try to fix by the time you answer the question. I'll
Sure.
call. Yes, sir. The question is that people have sent so many questions about the potency you use, the approach you use. But Dr. Rao sir, I'm coming to you again. By the time I ask the question, we'll solve the technical issue. I'll call you on the phone. So, sir, there are many questions that the ICMR is doing this clinical trial and has asked about inclusion of homeopathy. What is status of that? Actually, today the homeopaths want to know that what is status of homeopathy in eyes of ICMR today, as we are in the mid of this corona crisis.
See, as far as I know, because I'm not in a close touch with ICMR, but whatever groups they are doing, they are finding a lot of problems, replies from ICMR.
So maybe you're not audible. Just a minute. Your voice is, sir, your voice is not audible. I'll just see why. Just hold on. Yes, sir. Hello.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are now audible. Please.
See, sometimes what happens automatically, this mic gets mute. I do not know why it is happening. So I have to be on a. See, basically, I'm not in touch with close touch with ICMR, but whatever I'm getting feedbacks from other people who are in touch with ICMR, many times the replies don't come for a month together, and when the reply comes, they say, okay, homeopathy we don't understand. Ideally, there has to be a homeopathic ICMR. Indian Council of Medical Research in Homeopathy. So homeopathy section of the ICMR till the time it starts. See, now you cannot ask those people to quantify or verify homeopathy because people in the committee there, they are not homeopaths. So how they will believe? And they are skeptical. They have to take decisions, and if they are fearful, if the decisions are wrong, what will happen to them? So I don't think that unless and until the whole system changes, the system has to change. The homeopathic ICMR has to be there, Ayurvedic ICMR has to be there, or in ICMR there should be a group of committees where people from homeopathy, when it comes to homeopathy, people from Ayurveda, when it comes to Ayurveda, all these parts are included. Till that time, we are going to the phase and we are just passing the buck and just blaming each other. So this particular checkmate has to go away, and for that government needs to do something.
Yes, sir. Next question is that there are people who are covering themselves. There are people that they are admitting into the allopathic institutions. There are people who are taking homeopathy. Have you found any parameter that one, it is maybe homeopathy work faster? Can we quantify that homeopathy has really helped the patient? And is there any parameters that how much is the success rate of allopaths these days without homeopathy? Can you show us any path on that?
Yeah, I'll tell you. At present, if you see mortality rate, which was earlier, and when the COVID started, Israel and Italy and US, the mortality rate was very high. Now it has come down in India. It is still more come down because there was sudden search of that steroids are working. So steroids are anti-inflammatory. IL-6 is the most important. Anything that is acting against the ravages of IL-6 or stopping the IL-6. Tocilizumab is stopping the IL-6, and inflammation is taken care by the steroids, not by the antibiotics. This azithromycin and all antibiotics are given. They will cause one day drug resistance because it's a virus that needs to be killed. And antiviral drugs that are meant for other viruses. There is no clear-cut proof that yes, they are working, but somewhere it is working 10%, 20%. So they are being given because there is no other choice. But in homeopathy, whenever I have seen people who go, now I get a chance that there are a group of people who are going from one family with homeopathy and other members are not going. There I can segregate and differentiate the difference between homeopathy and allopathy. So there are two groups. One is taking allopathy with homeopathy. One is taking only homeopathy. One is taking only allopathy. So in these three groups, that is my experience. It may be short, so I cannot maximize it. But what I am seeing, the right remedies are giving results in first 24 hours. The basic principle of homeopathy, rapid. The correct selection of the remedy in 24 hours, which medicines will give relief. So I always tell them, give me only 24 hours. And if you're not feeling better, go for allopathy. So in 24 hours, if homeopathy is showing the results, what more you want to show? It's working. But we also have some limitations for selection of the remedies because there are no clear-cut indications. And someone's asked me what potencies are used. Potencies are very important. So in the deep-acting remedies, 30 potency like Merxol, phosphorus. And in acute remedies like Bryonia, belladonna is also 30 because sometimes belladonna, sudden aggravation can cause, fever can rise first with belladonna. It is what I've seen. And therefore, we have to take care of potencies. So Antimtat, this particularly Bryonia and all those things are being given into potency formation. And for your good news, I'm telling you, I'm into a task force committee of Maharashtra Ayush. And last week only we had a meeting. And Dr. Lahane, even though he's an allopath, hardcore allopath, he is into a chief of the Ayush team. Now, all doctors, initially he had also a resistance, but when he understood, after we exchange our ideas, cases, everything, today he is all in for homeopathy, Ayurveda. He says, doctor, that day, even though he was so much tired, he is excessively working. He is overtaxed. Even with the kidney transplant he has done, with the age, the way he is working, I salute him. That he is working to that level, even though with the age limitations. And he say, you show me all the results. And I vouch for that. We will take it to the government and see that this has been allowed along with allopathy. Because if something comes out, the ultimate aim of all of us is to save the lives. Unless it is proved that yes, it is effective. He said the time is over, the webinar time was over. Even after that, for 1 hour, he listened patiently to all the presentations. I ought to present it in homeopathy, Ayurvedic. Varsha, David Pausto, Dr. Raka, Dr. Vaknili, all together sat and formed one format. Then we had again a question. See, now individualization, classical method, and this corona and this, how so that there should not be any criticism. I said, see, look here, now we are facing a corona crisis where we know we have to tide over the acute. Later part we can think of. So we framed 8 pages directives. What potency to be used, what are the symptoms to be selected, and shortly it will come. I cannot share that with you right now because it is in the process of getting sanctioned. The day it will come, I'll share with all members and they will get what is their question, the answer to what they are asking today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think Dr. Srinivas Rao is now on air. Sir, can you talk now? Please
Yes,
talk so that yes, sir. Please.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are quite audible.
Yeah,
Yes.
great.
You are welcome, sir. Sorry for
Thank you.
some technical
No
issues.
problem. Yeah.
Yes, please continue.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muktinder. And I must really congratulate you and your team as well as IHP for setting up such a beautiful lecture by Dr. Jashwant Patil. It was very, very educative, and I think I've learned much more than what I've learned in the last 2 to 3 months about COVID-19. And he's being such a wonderful speaker and such a beautiful orator. I think he's excellently put across the information. Thank you so much, Dr. Jashwant. A very, very educative session. And at the outset, I would like to pay my respects to Dr. Gupta ji, Dr. M. A. Rao, Dr. Muktinder Singh Saab, Dr. Chandok, Dr. Tanvir Hussain. They're all the executive colleagues. Dr. G. Srinivas Lu, Ajay Dahad, Dr. Kochar, our secretary, and Dr. Srivamurthy. Anyway, now I have a very few points to add to what Dr. Jashwant Patil has already said. I think as far as the academic session is concerned, he's done an excellent bit. And what I have got to share is more for the executives and what we have to do in times to come. So originally I had a small PPT to present, but due to the technical issue, I'm not able to come on my computer. So I'll just read out my presentation. The whole idea is we could not join the whole COVID battle right in the beginning for whatever reasons. I think Dr. Jashwant also touched that point. There have been so many reasons, what government said was that we don't have enough documentation to prove ourselves and to say that we can carry this confidently. But we know it different. And the public is able to vouch for it. We've seen hordes and hordes of people reaching out to homeopathy by themselves, not necessarily if the government gives it. So it's very encouraging. And I've seen with my own eyes how different NGOs have really taken out homeopathy to provide it to people who are in peripheries, in Mufassil areas. And honestly, the feedback that we are getting is simply amazing. So to this effect, I think the best thing that CCRH has done is to bring out the Sanjeevani app. I think that is one more thing that all of you have to take into cognizance. Please use that app, because this is the only way that we can compile data to ensure that, we can convey with confidence that homeopathy really works. So that's one aspect. Now, what we are really worried about is the sequelae, the ailments after COVID-19. So what is going to happen, like Dr. Jashwant has very clearly said, the presentations can be through different states. It can be a diabetes or it can be a lung disorder. And we are getting very unique presentations, through digestive disorders or liver and brain disorders. And they are not just be there, but they're going to leave them damaged. So what are we going to do with it? How are we going to tackle these problems that are going to remain with these people in times to come? So this is one area that we have to really spend our energies and our thoughts on. And I would really request all the youngsters as well as the senior researchers to pay some attention to this. And like Dr. Jashwant has given us a beautiful quick note, we need to develop a quick reference guide of therapeutics and design validation with researchers on that. Like, there is a lot of information in our repertories in different therapeutic books, but for a COVID-ready reference manual, we need to have some very quick repository. I think if we can have something that can be published by IHP, either as a soft copy or even as a manual, I think it will go a long way. It will serve the public as well as the young doctors. And the next is the complications arising out of antibodies plasma transfusions. Plasma transfusion is the next probably magic bullet that they're talking about. But how valid is it? How is it going to help? And is it a practical solution? And there are so many issues that can come out of it. Like, we can have undetected viral infections coming out of it, like, HIV or hepatitis C or so many other viral complications. Or there is also the danger of the anaphylactic reactions leading to lung damages. And there are much more unseen complications that can come out of plasma transfusions, which we have to be aware about. And at that point, there's not much that, any other system can do, but obviously we have to be mentally prepared for it and see how we can brace that occasion and come to their rescue. The other aspect I was talking about is the iatrogenic disorders coming out of. So much has been talked about paracetamol and HCQS and prednisolones, dexamethasones, and they are being used left, right, and center with or without prescription. If it is coming from a doctor, they know how to monitor it. But it is being so much talked about that I think everybody is using it indeliberately at their own discretion. And what is going to leave as an aftermath is something that we have to be very cautious about. So dexamethasone, the complications that are going to come out of it, especially people with complications of thyroid disorders or PCOS, it is going to be a very, very huge uphill task for us to cope with that. The next point is the novel vaccines, and it is being unleashed. Mind me, this is the word I'm using. What is it unleashing? So there is going to be so much of a rush about it. Now we have talked about the Chinese vaccine, the Russian vaccine. Israelites are also doing it, and Great Britain is already coming up with something. And of course, in our own country, we are coming up with some vaccines. And everywhere, the governments are trying to fast track them. So in the process of fast tracking, what are we looking forward to? There is going to be a huge, usually a typical vaccine trial takes about 1.5 years to come to a kind of a sense where it can be released safely into the public. But if we are having to fast track it in such a way that obviously we are skipping some stages or some processes, and how justified is that? That's my question. We all know about vaccinosis. Burnett talks so much about it, and vaccinosis is a phenomena that we have to take into cognizance. Nobody else will talk about it except a homeopathic doctor, because we know clearly well what vaccinations can do. Now, it's a very, very major policy issue, which I think IHP has to also take into cognizance. This policy about vaccination is insufficiently debated, and not enough discussion has gone on that. What if the government makes it mandatory? What if you cannot step out of your house without carrying a certificate which says that you've got a vaccine or not? So, where is our freedom there? And if that is what we are going to face, this is going to be a huge problem for us, because vaccination is a huge problem that is not suitable for everybody. So, is there a one fit or a fix that fits everybody? No. I think we have to be cautious about it. So, what role does homeopathy and its advocates have in this? Can we let this pass by? I would really like IHP and all the senior homeopathic colleagues and from different organizations to give it a thought. Do we have an option to choose not to take the vaccine that the government is going to push down our throats? So, please give it a thought. And what is the magnitude of this decision? What kind of damages is it going to cause? And what have we learned from our past mistakes? So, is somebody something to say? Okay, so I think that's more or less what I wanted to say. The strain on humanity of the unforeseen effects over the next years. And mind me, this is not going to be just next years, but this is going to be next generations. Because if you are going to vaccinate a child of this in a 7 years old or in a 10-year-old, what kind of an effect is it going to have over the next generations of his progeny and so on and so forth? So, my dear friends, I would just like to bring your consciousness or your awareness about these issues. And I think we have to put our heads together and our hearts to a very, very committed work, because we have a lot of work cut out for us in times to come. And I would like to once again take a wonderful gratitude and convey my gratitude to the whole IHP team, especially Dr. Muktinder Singh, for being such a wonderful host and coordinating such a beautiful session like this. And I'm grateful also to Dr. Jashwant Patil for his beautiful session. Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you.
So please, points, please.
See, I thank Dr. Srinivas Rao that he has given us a very good insight. We are into the present time. We are into the Mahabharata. But what after Mahabharata? After Mahabharata, there will be more problems. So many problems we are going to face. The most important problem are the lung problems that we are going to face. And that is going to be interstitial fibrosis, low oxygen. I still have a patient who has suffered from COVID-19 about, say, 2 months back, and she is not improving at her oxygen at any level. She is restless. She is restless. Oxygen goes down to 89. And she came to me. She is from Delhi, and I was treating her and not finding a way. So I said, let us try. So first I gave her Bryonia. I gave her Antimtart. There was no result. Then I gave her Belladonna because based on the mental symptoms, I thought it is Belladonna. It didn't work. Then finally, after doing analysis and clinical evaluation, I arrived at Bryonia. And she says, डॉक्टर आप तो भगवान हो, मेरा जैसा ब्रायोनिया लिया, मैंने उनको कहा था ब्रायोनिया लेके आओ. So I tell the name of the medicine to the patient. सर ब्रायोनिया मेरे लिए अमृत था. उसका अगर आप क्लिप सुनोगे तो ब्रायोनिया मेरे लिए अमृत था. तो ये ब्रायोनिया is definitely working. And I think even in the post-COVID era, Bryonia will help us more because now this is a case which is going to be after Mahabharat of COVID. And we are going to face many, many problems. Other super specialty will like diabetes, pancreatitis, liver problems, cirrhosis. Ferritin is released. This ferritin will cause hemosiderosis. So I'm just imagining what the problems would be. Ferritin levels are not coming down. So we'll have to check whether ferritin goes down or not. Today I got one patient. I'm asking him every week to check ferritin. Now about four weeks back, he's totally settled from COVID symptoms. And he has come out beautifully with X-ray clearing and everything. But ferritin is still not going. From 1600, it has come down to 500 now. So still he is at a borderline phase. Now, how long this will go on, how long that ferritin will give, and interferon phos is working in 30 potencies, given 2 to 3 times a day, till the time ferritin level comes down. And therefore, we have to be very, very vigilant post-COVID data. Then what Dr. Srinivasa said about the vaccine. This vaccine will be imposed on us, vaccine, and we know what is vaccinosis. I am dead afraid of that because I have seen many, many problems of vaccine that has been treated. And I came across a wonderful article from Japan that they are too much against vaccination. They want only few vaccinations to be done. Now these vaccinations, they are not doing, and therefore their age, why they are living longer, was a study done and published because they are not taking too much of vaccination as the other Western countries are taking into. The third thing of vaccination is not bad, provided like smallpox vaccination, polio vaccination. But all vaccines are not like that, particularly these viruses. Influenza virus, there's so many strains, and therefore it is an utter failure. You take influenza virus vaccine and you may not be only protected for that particular strain. Now, the COVID-19 virus is changing the strain. I think some the 8 to 10 have come. So now which part of that strain has been taken up for vaccination, we don't know. So we have to be absolutely careful for that. And what you have said is really a thing that needs to be thought of. You have given wonderful things, and that has ignited my mind. Oh, I was just into the present. Now I have to go into the future also. The problems we'll have to think and solve, and we'll have to take one more seminar once the COVID is over, and then we can tide over this crisis. And we all together, I'm sure homeopathy has got an answer. And homeopaths are great. Though they are simple, though they are rigid like Kalikar, they will change now. Corona will change them, and they will be more broad view, more acceptable. And we need a change to prove in a scientific frame. We cannot stick on to what is the old ways, and the new clinical scientific ways has to come, because we know for ourselves and we have to prove to the world. And unless we bring into that particular form and pattern, we will not be recognized. Thank you.
Few questions. Thank you, sir. This is again lot of insight into certain issues. So we have talked at stretch, but there is a question which has been coming out on social media. Dr. Vishwaroop Rao Chaudhary kind person, they are talking that it is all a scam and it has to be treated only with diet. There is nothing like COVID. It is not a new virus. So, as an expert, what are your views on this? Because being homeopath, sometimes we get carried and we got impressed by such videos. Are they true, or what is the story behind?
See, virus is there, it has been proved, microscope is there, everything is there. So we cannot deny COVID virus. 80% or 70 to 80% are getting well on their own. That is also truth. So sometimes in the mild to mild cases, asymptomatic mild, you don't do anything. Leave it to God, they get well. So anything that you give, you feel ki this has worked. So it has got no meaning. The real sense, the real test of time of any pathy that wants to claim that yes, our pathy is working is in the moderate to severe to ICU cases. But that is after COVID infection. That is the ravages of the dead proteins of the virus. But what he is talking, Dr. Vishwasarup, I have not listened to his video. I think one time for a few minutes I listened and I got immediately what he is talking. He is telling about the diet. Diet improves the immunity. There are more than 1 lakh nutrients in one of the literature that I was reading. We know only few. And the deficiency of the nutrients leads to the immune mechanism, physiological mechanism go down. And when the immunity and physiology is weak, you are prone to fall prey to the ravages of the virus that comes in. So I always say that during chikungunya time, people who have not taken treatment, they have got well even from the deadlier diseases. Now it was not having that high mortality. But I'd seen one patient of arthritis who was coming to me, and I say, you are incurable, I could only maintain. He used to say, sir, isse acha marne ki dawa de do na. I say, I am not a killer. I can just keep you under control because you have gone into a very bad crisis. And the day he got chikungunya, he called me. He said, doctor, I was telling you to give me some medicines so that I can die. Now, God has sent me a death warrant and I am happy. I am not going to, I stopped all your treatment, everybody's treatment. I'll accept death. I followed up that patient. I said, okay, whatever you want, whatever your soul says, you do that. I didn't force him. You have to respect. And to my surprise, after a month, my arthritis is gone. This has taught me a lesson. The virus comes to test your resistance, your immunity. And therefore, you need to be nutritionally well balanced. And if the nutrition is good, immunity is good, you are not going to suffer the ravages. But these viruses will clear away your defective genes. And that is what has happened in him. Now, if we would have done testing, we would have said, we do your genetic mapping and see what are the changes into the gene that has happened. Your disease is gone. So these are the cases from where we should pick up, do research, study, and do. For that we require a very big research status. So I always say, Dr. Darwin has said, fittest will survive. I made a statement, unfit will develop disease and die. So those who are unfit, immunity is low, nutritionally they are imbalanced, these people will develop COVID disease and die. So they have been wiped out because of the immune process that is very weak in them. So therefore, what he says, what everyone says, some part of that nutrition is good, but virus is not there. It is very hard to believe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And one more question. I think we are running short of time.
Yeah.
As always, there are so many questions of participants also. But about social distancing and use of sanitizers and masks. So there are many things which are being talked of that masks may cause you to have oxygen deprived or certain things, and the sanitizer, they have their own side effect. and such a mass level, such a huge usage. What is your take on it?
See, it is a controversial issue, and many times now WHO is also changing. First, they said this much of distance, the distance went on increasing. Now, I think we have come to the last phase of community transfer, where everyone has to face the virus, everyone has to face the quality test of the virus of the nature and come out of it. So till the time you can prevent yourself, you can prevent. Mostly those who are into the high risk state, they should take care that they prevent. Basically, this triangle I always say. In allopathy also, if you see, this is the most important triangle because all the drainage goes to the brain and sagittal sinus. And there, from there the blood goes down. So this is an important area, even if you protect this much by headgear, because masks, they many a times cause low oxygenation. And whenever the oxygen goes low, the carbonic acid increases and your pH becomes more acidic, you are more prone to the problems. And therefore, the headgear should be compulsory rather than the mask for those who are into a problem or who are going into an area where you find now your app is very good. You are nearby some patient. From the app, you can know that you are nearing one COVID patient, but you cannot get a response, the same result from all over, and therefore it is for you who have to take care. If you can take care of yourself, there is no problem. Otherwise, you have to face the trial of the God and nature and pass from it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So we are coming to the conclusion of the day. You have really thrown a lot of insights and we are really motivated. Now I'm calling on Dr. Tanveer Hussain to please unmute yourself and start your video and give the final message and thank all the IAHP members and all who have participated today. Dr. Tanveer Hussain.
Yes.
Before Dr. Tanveer start, I have the announcement that all this will be available on the internet. We'll upload this on the YouTube also. So keep checking IAHP official YouTube channel. Dr. Tanveer, please take over.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Mutinder Singh. Today, really, we have enjoyed Dr. Jaswant's Patil's lecture. Instead of one lecture, we have enjoyed rather two. Buy one and get one free of Dr. Respected Srinivasa Rao sir, because his presentation was also very, very important for today's lecture, which has concluded and has thrown the light on some serious issues. So first I will talk about Dr. Jaswant Patil sir. For his presentation today, I really thank Dr. Ajay Dahad, the national advisor of our IAHP, who has contacted him and he has taken his valuable time for today's webinar. Thank you very much, respected Dr. Ajay Dahad sir, for bringing Dr. Jaswant Patil on this platform of IAHP. And Dr. Jaswant Patil has really done justice with his topic regarding COVID-19 and its clinical aspect and all that bedside cases he has shown, and the efficacy of homeopathic medicines. He was quite successful to establish the clinical efficacy of homeopathic medicines. Sir, it was very wonderful lecture, very wonderful presentation, though the time was short, but you have very nicely presented all the aspects of this. Rather, I would request you, sir, the same request which Dr. Srinivasa Rao sir has thrown some light regarding the repertory. If you can make some small repertory on COVID-19, because all the aspects of COVID-19 you are experiencing day by day along with your team. You have shown some of the very valuable, very important rubrics, also the various chapters of the repertory, which are highly helpful for everybody who is trying to take COVID-19 cases. So thank you very much, Dr. Jaswant Patil sir. We would, I will hope that in the future also we would love to see you again here on this platform of IIHP. Dr. Mukhinder, I know that he has very vast knowledge of various other fields of treatment also, because I spoke to him last week only regarding his experience on various pathological disorders like cancer, tuberculosis, and other many difficult topics in homeopathic system of medicine which are difficult. So after that, Dr. Srinivasa Rao sir has very beautifully thrown some serious light on some serious issues regarding this ailments after COVID-19, regarding this preparing the repertory for COVID-19 and all these other things. These were very serious issues. We have really enjoyed your lecture, sir. So now finally I will thank Dr. Jaswant Patil Sahab, Dr. N.S. Rao Sahab, and Dr. V.K. Gupta sir, respected Dr. V.K. Gupta sir, who is the mentor and he is a spinal cord, along with Dr. M.A. Rao Sahab, the national president of IIHP. Along with him, I thank all CEC members, like I can see on the screen, Dr. Ajay again, Dr. N.S. Rao, Srinivas Lu, Dr. Harprakash Sharma, Dr. Sangwan, Dr. Rajesh Sofat, and Dr. Gagan Nakra, Geeta Mogia, Dr. Ehab. Even from overseas, there are many people who have joined us from Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Malaysia, and other countries also. So Dr. Wahi Sahab, Dr. Sripad Hegde, Dr. Vinod Suri Sahab from Solan, he is also with us today. So I thank one and all for their qualitative and quantitative time who has given to all of us for this wonderful evening. And thank you once again, Dr. Jaswant Patil Sahab, for your wonderful session. We will see Dr. Mahesh Pagdara. I can see you also. Thank you very much, one and all. We'd love to see you again in this platform. And last but not least, Dr. Mukinder Singh, who is taking all the pains to host this valuable webinars on this platform. Thank you once again, one and very much, sir. Thank you. Have a nice time.
Thank you, Dr. Tanveer, for your concluding comments. So I once again thank Dr. Jaswant Patil sir, Dr. Srinivas Rao sir, and Dr. Mahesh Pagdala, smiling face, and so many other, Dr. Rao sir, and one more guest was with us today, Dr. Kulwant Singh from Faculty of Homeopathy from UK. So many international people are, Dr. Wahi sir is there, who is a senior homeopath. So I cannot take all the names because today we touched around 500 participants. So Dr. Patil sir, you have really touched the heart of all the people, and you have motivated homeopaths for homeopathy at least. So that is a noble job. That motivating homeopaths for true homeopathy and the potential of homeopathy. Really, we are not even encashing 10% of what we have in homeopathy. So we need your guidance in future also. We'll be calling you again and again for our participants to get enlightened. Thank you once again, once and all, Dr. V.K. Gupta sir, Dr. M.A. Rao sir, and all our team. Thank you. IAHP is a family and we all are blessed to be together. And I'll definitely, Dr. Srinivas Rao sir, I'll definitely take up your suggestions of forming IAHP teams for different, like that kind of brigades we need in IAHP for research and for these forward-taking tasks. So we'll be definitely needing your leadership for that. Thank you again, once and all. Thank you.
Thank you. I take your leave, and I thank you all for patient listening. And I'm always there for homeopathy. And whenever you call for sharing my knowledge and experience, though I'm not